Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hope you well. Hope you fantastic. Firstly, I'd just like to apologize for being a couple of minutes late. Um, Load shedding. So we blame everything on load shedding. So load shedding, big, big, big problem. But yeah, so hopefully that you're great. Hopefully that you're good. It's festive seasons, guys. The year it's over. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that it's almost over? But I hope that you are safe. I hope that you're well together with your families wherever that you may be. And please, if you're gonna be traveling, please travel safe. Just make sure that you take breaks in between the travels. You make sure that you are well hydrated. Make sure that you're well rested. Please, assembly. We want you back safe and sound in Jan, which is a couple of days away from now. So please make sure that you are safe on the roads. Enjoy the Christmas, enjoy the festive seasons, but also enjoy responsibly, which is also fantastic. So yeah, man, I am so glad that we are on another episode of our financial ringers. I think this is the seventh episode that we are touching on. So if you are new in terms of the financial ringers and watching these episodes, this is basically where I touch on things around finances, around property, around mental health, because I believe that those three things are absolutely, absolutely vital that we talk about them, and really just to highlight some of the challenges, some of the pros and cons around a lot of things. And of course, every week I rotate. Last week I did property stock files. So please go and check out that episode. If you are thinking about getting into property stock files, please go and check out that episode. There's some nice content around that. And then of course today we are talking about something that is really close to my heart, which is debt review, right? Debt review. So today we are talking about debt review. So I'm just going to cover some of the things that I really believe that are absolutely critical when it comes to debt and debt management in particular. All right. So let's start here. What is debt review? What is debt review? Because I feel that there is so much taboo around this concept, around this intervention, especially around our communities, which is the black communities. There is this taboo. There is this thing. It seems like if you are under debt review, you are filthy. There's just this negative thing around it. But just in a nutshell, what is debt review? So I'm just going to explain it, just simplified so that we can all understand it. So debt review basically is a process where you surrender. Okay, so I like to highlight the word surrender. So you do it voluntarily, right? So you are not forced to do it. So you do it when yourself and you say, look, I want to surrender my financial obligations to my creditor. Well, your financial obligations to your creditor to somebody else, right? So you are now surrendering your financial obligations to your creditor to somebody else. All right. So now this is the person, like a debt counselor, who now is basically you are handing over. You saying that I cannot handle my financial obligations with my creditor. Can you please take over and please help me out from that basis? So now your debt counselor will then be able to mediate between you and the creditor. So how they do that is basically they say our client, because you become their client, our client cannot meet his or her financial obligations to you, right? So what can we work out, right? So obviously now what they're saying is that they now need to lessen the load in terms of what you are supposed to pay them. So they will lessen that amount which you're supposed to pay them at the end of the day. So that's what it technically is. You are surrendering. I want to emphasize the surrendering. You say, I can't, I'm done. Can you please help me out? Because I tried everything I could. Can you then help me out to then be able to, just lessen the load with my creditor? And I want to go back to this quickly around credit and debt, because I still believe that this is something that we truly don't have a grasp on, right? And it's very, very important. So let's now talk about credit, right? So there's credit and then there's debt. So I always like to talk about these things because I feel that we are missing just something here. So credit is a facility, right? It's a facility that you get from somebody. It could be even with Mashonisa guys, they give you a credit facility. They say you go come to them and you say, hey, I need money. And then they say, okay, I'll give you a credit line. So if we want to be fancy, we say credit line. They give you a credit line. So they say, okay, I can give you 2,000. Do you want 2,000? Yes, I want 2,000. So that is a credit facility. So they say you qualify for 2,000, right? So you are now having this facility. Now, when you start using the 2,000, so let's just use that 2,000 as an example. If now you start using that 2,000, that's where now debt kicks in, right? Because now at the end of the day, the person that is granting the credit gave me the credit line. He said I can give you 2,000, so I can borrow you 2,000. Immediately when I use the 2,000, it then becomes debt because now the repayment starts. So I now need to start repaying the 2,000. And based on the terms between me and the creditor, then there will be an understanding in terms of if I pay you, if I take your 2,000, I borrow your 2,000, how much am I going to now need to pay back, in a form of interest? Because remember that as a financial institution, or even as a machinist, I don't like using that, but hey, it is what it is. Even as a financial institution, I'm in business. I need to make money. So how do I make money? I borrow you the 2,000 and then I charge you interest. So that's my profit at the end of the day, right? So it's absolutely important that we understand this. Now, some debts, right? Some credit facilities, how it happens is that I grant you the facility. So I say that you have 2,000, like a credit card, right? So you have 2,000. Whatever you use, you must pay back plus interest, right? Until you use it, you can't pay. You don't have to pay me anything back, right? So it's sort of like pay as you use, right? Pay as you use. So as you use this credit card, you are now paying back the money, right? But if you don't, if the bank grants you a 10,000 credit facility, you don't use it, you don't pay anything back, right? So that's just how it is. But there are some credit facilities that immediately when they grant you that facility, they will pay it into your account and then you start then being liable for that amount. Ukuthi, what do you do with it? They don't care. All right. So it's absolutely critical that we understand that some of them you will pay immediately. So they will say, for example, things like refinancing. They grant the amount, they pay it into your account. Ukuthi whether you do what, they don't care, right? So it's absolutely important, guys, to understand it. So always understand your terms of credit. What does it entail? When do I pay back? How much do I pay back? Which is absolutely important. And why I'm touching with this is because a lot of the times, because we don't understand these concepts, now we find ourselves deep in debt and having problems around it. All right. Now, so I've mentioned the debt review aspect, right? So we're just gonna go to it just now. So in terms of where do I start? All right. So in terms of just around the credit aspect, all right. So when we get into, because today we're talking about over indebted. Now I normally say there's two parts to becoming over indebted, right? So you get over indebted because of circumstance. That's number one, or by habit. So you become over indebted by circumstance or by habit. So whenever now, before you even start to look for intervention, ask yourself, how did I get where I'm at? Did I get because of circumstance or did I get because of habit? Why is this important? Because a lot of the times is that when we get into debt review, right? When we seek for intervention, so let's really focus on debt review. So I always see that a lot of the times that when people get into debt review, because remember now they're going to lessen your load, right? So your load is going to lessen. So all of a sudden you are paying less. And then you're going to feel like, oh, I can breathe now. I'm all right? But because you haven't established how you got there, then you'll find that people, they continue to live nomad. Like you spend, we see you, go kai, yay, gumnand. You see now it's December. You even look at people that if you know that they are under that intervention, and it's like gumnand. I'm not saying that people shouldn't, you know, enjoy themselves. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that remember that is an intervention to help you so that you can then restructure your finances and then you become healthy again from a financial perspective. So if now all of a sudden you are in this intervention, but everything is the same, when now home and you're going to either stay there for a long time or you're gonna get deeper and deeper. Because remember that your credit, your debt, your debt is still there. It's not going away. It's lessened, but it's still there. So then it becomes a problem. So always then identify first before you even get into debt review. How did I get there? So let's first start with circumstance. What do I mean by circumstance? Let's be real, guys. You know, I see sometimes we talk on Facebook. Yeah, people are reckless. Yeah. You know, guys. Sometimes life happens, and I know because I've been there. It will change. Spin now, and then your head will be like messed up, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in heavily debt. So let me make an example. I know it sounds somehow for Friday, but hey, we need to be real with these things, right? So let's say, for example, you are driving, touch wood, and you get into an accident, right? This accident is a very horrific accident, and yes, you have medical aid, but let's say even you have gap cover on your medical aid, but let's say now something happens, your medical aid doesn't pay, right? And it doesn't pay, and your hospital bill is running at like hundreds and thousands, right? It's like a hectic. And remember now, you are the client for the hospital. So it means that that debt now falls on you. Now, all of a sudden, now I'm sitting with this debt that I need to pay. So now, with that said, it then affects a lot of things. First of all, I was in hospital. Maybe my job, they didn't pay me. Maybe, and all of these things. Life still needs to carry on. And I think a lot of the times we don't really think about things like that to say, if I get into trouble, if I'm sick, if whatever it is, I mean, there's an accident, I can't walk in, like what will happen to my financial obligations? We don't even check our credit facilities, which is also very scary, right? But that happens. And all of a sudden, I'm really struggling. I'm struggling, right? So it's a circumstance. It's not as if I like woke up and like, hey, I'm journaling there, I'm busy having great time, and I'm running the bills and all of that. It's a circumstance that happened. Another circumstance that we have, especially as Black people, is black tax. Black tax is real, guys. And I see some people take it, light, like because where now you grew up holding at home, you are okay. Your parents are working, and you are good. But you don't understand that some people, that nobody works at home. I'm the only one. And I can't just simply say, dude, hey, they will sort themselves out. No. Probably then your parents worked very hard for you to go to school and everything else. And now there's your siblings. And when you look at it, is that consciously, you can't really just sit and not do anything. So find yourself having now the overload financially and the burden to be able now to make sure that the home is taken care of. So you see now the problem is it's circumstance. It's something that you didn't choose. It happened, and I need to deal with it. And unfortunately, at times, that could be your life for the rest of your life. It happens. It happens. So those are the things that we look at from a circumstance perspective. So it's always critical that you identify how you got there. And I think as people that we like to commentate, we like to do all of those things, it's absolutely important to get context as well. So it's easy to just say people are reckless, and no, some people it's because really there's certain things that have happened and they can't get out of it. All right. So Cool. Sorry about that. There was a call in the morning. Who wants me in the morning? I'm busy. Right. But yeah, so the circumstance, they happen. So it's absolutely important that you know that. So let's then deal with habit. Habit. What is habit, guys? Habit is also a big one. Eh? It's December now. It's December. Like, go and check the malls, guys. Like, go and check. Yo, humunati, everywhere. It is happening. Again, I'm not judging. You have fun. It's December. But let's look at in terms of what's happening, right? Because a lot of the times we get into these habits, bad financial habits that lead us into trouble. Like when every weekend you are busy, you're having fun, you're busy, right? And then you're not looking in terms of what your financial standing is sitting at. And that could then be a problem. Takeaways. I'm one of those, I'm recovering from takeaways because I stay by myself. So you'll find that you're now eating takeaways every day. They can cost a lot of money. Another point for me to work on is data. It's like your airtime. Oh, like I'm like thinking, why? At times you have the fiber, you have the mobile router, but you still load airtime. Like that thing, it plays with your head like it's a guy data. That it's started. Yeah. So all of these things, it's a habit thing that we now you don't know why you're doing it, but you're doing it, right? You're buying takeaway. You don't know why. You don't even feel like it, but because it's something that now it's in your blood, you feel that you need to do it, and subconsciously playing with you to say, I need to buy all of these things, but you don't need it. And all of the times that is now eroding your financial health, because at the end of the day you are spending money that you don't even know why you're spending. You don't know why when you don't have a no. If your friends call you now, hey baba siyopuza, say hey, you are going even though you don't have the money, right? Even though it's not in the budget, you are going there. So a lot of the times we also get into all these financial holes because of habit. And habit, if you don't change it, right? Because a lot of the times, because remember that debt review can also work as a plaster. Ne? It will be the plaster on the wound. So you are not fixing the cause of the wound. And that now becomes a problem. So when you're just putting the plaster, you think you're fine, but deep down, the wound is just becoming septic. It just, it's not getting better. And Papa, you are 60, and then you get there, you have nothing. And then why? Because all this was not fixed. You didn't fix the symptoms, you just had that plaster and it didn't work at the end of the day. So let us look at our habits. Absolutely important. So look, you're going to have time, a lot of us, taking time out, you close at work, sit down with your finances and really look at and interrogate yourself. Where am I when it comes to my finances? How are my spending habits? Because that's another issue. How am I spending money? Do I think before I buy? What are the things that I need to be able to look at, which is absolutely important, right? So I wanted us to then look at in terms of just these two as we start to say when we now, how do we get to over indebtedness? Then these two things for me are very on the top of the list. Work on them. Try and find out where are you in this, and then you try and fix it. With circumstance, so I know at times it might be as if there's no solution, right? Especially around black tax. But what I also say is that let's also start, engaging with our families, right? Be transparent as much as we can. The other day I posted on the men groups around fathers, and I talked about overcompensation. And that could be a big thing where we want to overcompensate, especially if now you are a father and you're no longer with the mother, or you are a mother and no longer with the father, and you feel like "Ish, my kids mustn't feel the void," and then you overcompensate. Or even with our families, now I'm working and my mom go next door, hey, the Joneses are building the double stories, and then now all of a sudden you feel you want to overcompensate so mama doesn't feel left out. Then all of a sudden you take a loan, you're building this house, then it's your karma, so all these things we need to be starting to engage with our families. This is where I'm at. And it could be rough as well around the fact that you are in Joburg, you are a professional, and then they think when you are managed, and you are drowning. So we always need to be able to sit down with our families. This is where I'm at. And then what can we do? Because if now, for example, you have your siblings And yes, your siblings are studying, but they can get part-time jobs. Those are the things that we can start engaging on. So let us do that. Absolutely important. All right, cool. So circumstance, habit. So those are the two things that can lead to over indebtedness. Now, let's now get into debt review. So you are now, hey, you tried everything. All right? You tried everything. So I always say, and that's just me, I always say that debt review should be the last line of defense. That's just me. Debt review should be the last line of defense. So meaning that I have tried everything. I've tried, yay, it did not work, right? And then you get to debt review. So I'm going to give you some of the steps before you get to debt review. Some of the steps. And this is not an advice, it's just my perception. It's my thought process, and then it's in the book as well. So that's what I, recommend at the end of the day. Which way you do it and what, it's up to you. All right. So the first part, before, okay, let's just put it on top. So before you get to call people, so we'll review. All right. So before you even I need help, the first thing that you must do, you must draw up a budget. The first thing you must do, you must draw up a budget. Because sometimes I'm drowning. Okay, how? What is the level of your drowning? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. But I can't meet my financial obligations. How? Why? You don't know. All right. So the most important thing is do a budget. Number one, that's the first thing. If you don't budget, don't go and talk to other people first. Go and budget first. Sit down and say, look, I'm sitting down, I'm doing a budget, and then I want to see where exactly am I? Because the budget highlights exactly where you are. And I want to say this, when you do the budget, right, do it how am I put it? You open up, guys. I surrender. I surrender. And then you take that piece of paper and then you write everything. Write everything. Because subconsciously there are other things that you will block. Because you don't want it, you don't want to see this bad picture. And I think that's another problem, is that because we don't want to see how bad it is, then you just cover it up. And then that's where we start getting these loans, because sit down and write everything, even the bad one. Even if you owe 300,000, write it there, because immediately when it becomes live, you see it. That's where your mind starts to oh, okay. And a lot of the times it's not even as bad as we think, because when you're scared of something that you cannot see, that's gonna torment you proper. But when you start seeing it, and then you start okay, it's there, okay, it's bad, but what can I do? All right. So it becomes much easier to then to work on from that basis, because you know what you are dealing with. All right. And then for those who don't know how to budget, or you just forgot somehow, all right. So budgeting is that you're going to list your income, and then you're going to subtract your fixed expenses, and then you're either going to be left with a surplus or a deficit, right? So in many cases, because we are over indebted, it will be deficit. It's okay. That's the first step. At least now you know, right? It's all right. You're going to feel you're not going to be all right. At times it becomes emotional. You might even cry. You might even, right? But it's okay. I just want to say it is okay. That is the first step. Remember, that's just the first step. And then we're going to work on it. All right. So budget, work on it. And then what I would say is that when you draft the budget, print your statement as well. So budget statement must go hand in hand. So print your bank statement at least 6 months. So print at least 6 months bank statement. that you can then correlate with. So you need to be able to sit down when you do the budget, have your bank statements as well. So highlight in terms of your bank statement where the money went out. What did I do with the money? So you'll see that you withdrew the money. So try as much as you can to think what you did with the money, right? So that you start to, what you're doing there, you'll also start to pick up patterns. Because maybe when on the 17th, 18th, 19th, because you're getting paid on the 15th, you withdraw money. But you don't know where the money goes. Because obviously after the payday, we're normally highly active from a spending perspective. So you want to spend as much as you can because you feel that you have money. Like now, right? There's a lot of debit orders that haven't picked up. And then already, like, people have chowed the money. And you will see, January, it's going to be rough. Why? Because you're sitting with this money there, and money, and you're sitting there. It's like you feel like you still have 30,000. 20,000 is going to debt. But when, not because you see that balance and you're still waiting for the guys to pick to debit, you're going to find yourself in trouble. And that is why I mentioned the issue of the 2-account system, that always have 2 accounts, one transactional and one that will basically be used for entertainment. And then that every month I'm spending 2,000. It's me money. So then I would load a scheduled payment on the 15th if I'm getting the paid on the 15th, on the 25th, on the 25th, and then that money goes out. It goes to that second account. So like right now, it's December. Everywhere you're going, you should be going with the second account, because that's your entertainment account. And you will see that it starts to help you to manage your spending, because then you can see, okay, I have a budget of 2,000. I bought that top of 500, now I'm left with 1.5. So I need to be careful around that, right? So already there is a financial management happening. There's compartments in your finances. But if you're not going to do that, right now you are sitting with 30,000, but your debits are 25,000. But when you're busy chowing that 30,000, because in your mind, when you see your balance, you have 30,000, and that's where the trouble starts. All right. So it's important that when we go now, before we see a debt counselor, somebody that can help us restructure our finances, we need to be able to we need to know where we are sitting. What is my total debt? If now I sit on my total debt, what am I sitting at? Is it 300,000? It is, how much am I sitting with? And then, of course, the bank statements then helps you with around to look at your cash flow. So how are you managing that money? You withdraw 500 Rand yesterday. What did we do with it? I don't know. You see? So then you start interrogating around it so that you come up with a plan. And then what I'll also include in there is that print your ITC report, right? Print your ITC report, because that will also to correlate a lot of things. Because some of the debt you don't know that you have, and then when you print it and you realize that you have, you thought when you paid off Foshin, it's still there, it's still blocking you. So please make sure you print out your ITC report. So all of these need to correlate, needs to be the same, right? So make sure that you do that. And I can safely say that when you get into this position, it's rough. So you know that you are in a hole. So surrender. Just say, I need to fix myself, but I need to know how deep I am, right? And then you surrender to where you are, because a lot of the times we're living in denial. When you are okay, right? Especially now we are in relationships, and you must show babes that you're right. You surrender yourself, rather than, if the babes doesn't want to do this, wait a minute, let me fix myself, right? But you need to surrender to where you are, so that you now fix the problem, and then you get to where you want to be. All right, important. So ITC, you have to do it. You have to do your ITC, you have to do your bank statements, your budget. So those 3 things, you must do them together. That's the first part, right? So once now I know where I'm at. So now I know where I'm at, right? So I would then recommend that you then get somebody to sit with you before debt reviews, before you go to a debt counselor. So get somebody who, let's say, a third person. So a third person, right, who is Klutzegat in their mind and with finances. Somebody that you trust. that you can sit down with and say, this is where I'm at, right? This is what I've done. So remember, at times we want to get to people, please help me. What have you done? Nothing. Oh, guys, no. And then remember, when you're now getting that person, you're not probably not paying them. So you're just like a friend, you somebody that you trust, that you see that the money save it, and in the end, oh, you can even just pop up 200, 300, get somebody who's like a financial coach who can just sit with you and diagnose where you are, right? Because when you're in that state, you might be a very well, like 100, like 98% of the time, you are highly emotional. So when you are highly emotional and when you are highly stressed and when you panic, you can make a lot of mistakes, right? So then sit down with somebody who is cruiser guide, they are fresh, you are in a state, then you say, okay, I've printed my bank statements, here's my ITC report, here's my budget, I'm in a mess, right? I think I'm in a mess. What do you think? Right? Then they can sit and check. Okay, Mike, maybe you can cut here. Why do you have to have a premium for a dish? Do you need that? No, I hardly watch TV. Okay. So in terms of your groceries, I see you spend 5,000. Okay. Do you really need the food that you guys eat? What do you guys buy for groceries? Yeah, no, where we buy, the bagels with that, da, 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 da. Okay, why don't you then cut a lot of the stuff? So maybe go like vegetables, and maybe for the next 3 months, unfortunately, eat chicken, right? Eat chicken. Like I do that a lot. So eat chicken if you can, because if you need meat, you can do it. Or then start look at the diet. How can we then minimize this grocery list? The certain things that we cannot cut because we want to make sure that we like you can't cut, like for example, things like, well, you can like your bread, but there's certain things that we can't cut, especially when we have kids. All right, but then that person will help you diagnose your grocery list, and you can then even start shopping around. And I know that saving 10 rand there to 20 rand there, it seems like a little, but it can go a long way. It can really go a long way. And of course, now we want to be healthy as well, so we could be looking for alternatives at the end of the day. If we then have yards, you can start, planting some of those vegetables because they can be quite expensive. And there's another thing as well around looking like your veggies. Guys, yes, we know, like, the guys that sells on the streets, you want to have the labels and all of that, but there are certain veggies that you can buy because you use them on a daily basis. Yes, some of them, they need like preservation and all of that, but utilize them. I mean, the guys are there. You can get a packet of mazambani for 10 rand instead of getting it for 70 rand. So you see, all of a sudden now you're engaging with this person. They're starting to look at you to say, okay, now I see that you also like, going to spread the ribs, right? But how much do you spend there? It's a lot of money. When are you always ripping chicken? So maybe still go out, but maybe guys order pizza, right? Because maybe you can buy certain things that you can do at home, but you still went out. Because I'm a big advocacy of like go out like once a month at least, like especially with kids, like they need that fresh air to get out. But you don't have to spend much. As soon as I started to realize that, I mean, I don't spend more than 500. We buy pizza, we look at the menu. I'll take them to the menus where there is intervention. You can play around. So we still went out, had fun, but it was cheaper. All right. So it's absolutely important to do that. But get a third person. So I call it a third eye. So get somebody that can look at you from that third eye perspective and say, oh, okay, maybe you can do this, do that. Because maybe before you even go and get that intervention, then you can even go and renegotiate. You can go and renegotiate. I want to highlight that part. You can go and renegotiate yourself with creditors before the intervention. You can do that. You can say, guys, I am struggling. Okay, they say, come in, let's see what we can do. Okay, can I pay lesser? I posted the other day, it is better to be a slow payer than a non-payer. It is better to be a slow payer than a non-payer. So at times what we do, we are in debt, you are struggling, you are, all of a sudden you're no longer taking the calls. All of a sudden you're no longer paying because you feel that your normal installment is 3,000 and I can't even pay. Like if I pay 200 or 500, yo, like these guys are gonna crucify me. And you know that I'm sorry to say, but the guys from call center can be ruthless. Well, for a reason, because they debt collectors, right? So they can be ruthless to a point where you feel like you are like I don't want to talk to them. Like yeah, they can just someone man, I don't care, right? But please engage. So go in and then renegotiate first. Unless if they say yeah, then you can look at other things. But please, firstly, go and renegotiate. So we'll put that at 5. Go and renegotiate with your creditors. Please go and do that. A lot of them are open to it. As long as you come very early, you can see that you are struggling. Before you start now missing 10 debit orders, please make the first one. It's a sign that already you are in trouble, in jail. Don't even wait. Go and say, guys, I am in trouble. But please don't go before you do all of these steps. Because then they come and says, look, how much can you pay, Mr. Mkabala? I don't know. I don't know. Then I go and say, yeah, I'll pay 1,000. But I didn't do this. And then 1,000, first month, young karma still. And then they think that I was just, messing around with them. So you see as well, there needs to be, openness. But you need to be open, having an understanding of where you are. All right? Absolutely important. Make sure that you do that. Cool. So renegotiate. So then when we now have this, so I'll just, for the sake of time, so I'm just going to end here. So number 1, please do the budget where you do your income minus your fixed expenses. So fixed expenses, guys, is everything, even if it's not debit order. Because sometimes we have this thing about fixed expenses, it must be a debit order. So if now there's your brother every month 1,500, that's your fixed expense. Like, can you take out every month fixed expense? If there is send money home, e-wallet, fixed expense, right? Whatever it is, you spend it. Your haircut, it's a fixed expense. I get when you cut every day, every week, fixed expense. So put it there. It's very, very important. And then print your bank statements, at least 6 months bank statements. And then when you do it, please do it relaxed. Don't rush it. Relax. And have cookie pens if you can. So have different cookie pens if you can, where you can highlight. So you can see, okay, here is a debit order, right? Here is withdrawal. Withdrawal, what did I do? So you always now want to interrogate what you have done with that money, right? And then you're highlighting certain things coming out, and then you'll have a clear picture. After that, then you're gonna have a clear picture to say, all right, out of the money that comes in, out of the money that goes out, what am I left with? And a lot of the times, like, here's the next stupid, you're going to be shocked at how much you are left with most of the time. You are going to be shocked. I've had somebody shocked, like, I'm left with 15,000. I'm like, yeah. Where does it go? Assas falls within the trap, the cracks and stuff, right? So it's absolutely important. So you print your bank statement, 6 months, print your ITC report. So this is also important, guys, to verify the other debts that you have, and then talk to somebody that you trust who is financially sober. They don't have to be financially great. They don't have to have mentions, because sometimes we think that we get wisdom from people that are wealthy and rich all the time. No, there are people that are just living modestly, right? But when you talk to them, you're like, yes, you get so much value. So let us not discount, people, right? Don't discount people. Just because somebody cuckoo, it doesn't mean they're not financially safe. It doesn't mean that. So, but you will see certain trends around it. But this person financially right? If you don't want to pay, of course. But I would recommend as well that you get someone that you can pay. It's like, look, I'll pay you 300, or I'll take you for lunch, right? Order whatever you want, okay, but within the budget. And then just in diagnose where I'm at. Here's my budget. Don't just go there empty-handed. Help me out, guys. No, doesn't work that way. And then the last one, please renegotiate. So after you have done all of these things, please renegotiate with your creditors. A lot of them will understand, right? So now we have done all of these interventions, and then now we go to now the check with Baba. You really need to be under debt review. Like, there's no other way. It's either you're gonna lose your car, lose your house. You need to be under debt review. So you see now it is the last line of defense. So now we've tried everything. Now we're going to get into debt review. Now, before we enter that space, there's a client of mine. So we're busy with an application for the property, and it was picked up that they were under debt review, and the person was shocked, like, how, right? So after I got the report, I immediately called. It's like, hey dude, you are under debt review. What's happening? How did you get there? Did you sign anything? Did somebody call you? It's like, yeah, no, I got a call, and then okay. At the time, I was just not, my headspace wasn't right. All right. And then they told me that they could reduce my debt obligations. And why I'm doing this video now is because it's December. You remember going back, I mentioned that debit orders hasn't come out. They haven't. A lot of them. They're gonna come out next week. And because you've been sitting with this man, a lot of the times you have charged it. There's a lot of people who have done that. So now all of a sudden you are in trouble. Then January comes. You're gonna see those calls in January. Mark my words. Like, when you get the calls, just like say something on Facebook. You're gonna get the calls in January, because they know that people are now desperate. And there is no magical word than let's reduce your debt obligation when you are financially in trouble. That is like magic words. Like, anyway, so it's like I was not in a good space. Finances were not looking great, but they were not bad. It was just like there was things happening, and they said they can help me out, right? And then over the phone, and boom, all of a sudden, the person is under debt review, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna send you paperwork. Just over the phone, it can then be deemed as an agreement, oral agreement. It's oral, right? Yeah, oral agreement. So it's not written; it's oral. So that is why when your cell phone, you can get into a cell phone contract over the phone. So that is why, guys, we have to be careful around things that we pick up over the phone, right? Oh, yes. That can deemed as you agreeing to a credit agreement. So all of a sudden, and he's fine. And look at everything else, he's great, qualifies. But because they are under debt review now, because of something that they entered into over the phone, now they have an agreement. And remember now, let me now, before I really touch on the stuff around it, is that the pros and cons of debt review. Okay, let's do that. Cons and pros. All right. So I'm just going to deal with one. So first, okay, let's see where we can go. Let's look at the cons. So the cons is you can't take any credit. No credit. Unless if you go to the Mashonisas, right? So it blocks you from getting more credit. So it will block you. So that's one con. Second one, it can affect your job prospects. Right? Because a lot of the times what do employers do is that they run a credit check. So now when they run a credit check and then they see you're under debt review, that may be deemed as you financially negligent. So it means when now you adjust. And when I pull a report and I see that you are debt review, some people they don't even want to ask you what they just say, yo, you can't touch that. Especially if you look at the financial services sector. So you are applying for a bank or anything that has to do with finances. Now, how am I gonna trust you with budgets of the company while you can handle your finances? So you see how it comes out. So that can be a really stumbling block. And then for business people, that can also affect you when you now go and apply for funding. So that could be a very negative thing. So now you're going for funding. It might not be a bank. It might just be, but then people say, hey, look, we're going to part ways with a lot of money. So let's run a credit check and see where you are. Can you handle your finances? Because we want you to handle our money. So now all of a sudden you're under debt review. That can definitely affect you in a negative light, right? And the list goes on. The list really goes on, but it can be a really stumbling block from that perspective, right? So now let's deal with the pros, all right? So the pros is because you can't get any more finance, any more credit, then you can't get deeper, more deeper. Okay, let's put more deeper. So you can't get any more deeper than where you are, all right? Because you can't get the finance, you can't get the credit. So it means that you can't get any more deeper than you are, which that can be a good thing, right? Because some of us, we also addicted to debt, to toxic debt. Like you're addicted, like it's part of, like you feel that if you're not like you are shaking, you just feel like something is wrong. It happens a lot. It happens. So you can now go deeper than where you are. So that is a pro. Okay. And then the second one is that it gives you immunity. I don't know how to spell that, but I'll just IMM. So it gives you immunity. So what it does is that it protects you, it shields you for a time period, right? So debt review shields you for a time period because in that time period, people cannot take any further legal actions, or your creditors cannot take any further legal actions against you. So which is great, especially if you have assets like property, like you have cars, then they are protected for that period. So it gives you immunity, against that. So that is very, very important. And then the last one, touch on 3, is that what is the other pros? Is that it helps you to start afresh. It helps you to start afresh because now you can sit and say, okay, I'm breathing again. How do I now, navigate from here on? So that is absolutely important. So number one, when we're dealing with pros, is that you know more credit. So it's going to be difficult for you to get credit unless you go to Mashonisas, which is it can be a negative thing because now you want to buy a house and they block you. Secondly, is that it affects your job prospects. So if now you're applying for a job and then they look at you like, yo, you're under debt review. No, he's great or she's great, but no, financially negligent. We can't deal with that person. And then the last one is as a business person, it can affect your funding prospects. So now you want to raise money and then they go and check you and they're like, yo, you're under debt review. That could affect you big time. So it's absolutely important to know that. But let's look at the pros. The pros is that because you can't get any more credit, you can't get any deeper than where you are, because that's where the problem as well lies, where you're just getting deeper. You borrow from this one, you pay this one, borrow, you owe everybody. Your street now knows you with never. So it's absolutely important to understand that. So number 2 is that it gives you immunity. I hope that's the right word. It gives you immunity, so it protects you for that period, because now your creditors cannot take any further legal steps against you. You are protected when you are under there for that particular moment, and then of course you can start afresh. So it's absolutely important to know that. So now I'm going to give you now parting shots around debt review. So I'm going to tell you what debt review is not. What debt review is not. And that's just according to me. Debt review is not a financial holiday. Debt review is not a financial holiday. It's not. It is not a financial holiday. You are still liable. That's very important to note. You are still liable. It's just that the creditors has agreed that you can pay slow. That's it. You're still gonna pay, but you can pay slow. So what I would recommend is that when you enter debt review, you still need to budget. You still need to be able to say, how do I turn my finances to be in a good state? And then going back to starting afresh. So say let me forgive myself. Maybe I was young, I was a bit stupid, or maybe I was just reckless in my life. And now I've turned a new leaf. Now I want to be a holy person. So I give myself, right? So I'm going to start myself in the right footing. So look at it now as a place to start afresh, anew, starting to create the right habits, starting to create the right moves, starting to engage with people that are financially progressive. Doesn't matter from what level, right? So please hear me very clearly. It doesn't matter from what level, because this thing of just thinking that just because somebody's up there, they're going to give you the right advice is also not correct, right? Maybe they got there somehow, right? So listen to what people say. You're gonna pick up this one financially stable, that one, so surround yourself with also people that are progressive from a financial thinking perspective as well, and doing right. So when you start to sit with those people, because company can also be a bad thing. We might be sitting with toxic people, and that is why the book around mental health, and that is why financial ringers also includes mental health, because we can be okay materially, but we can be messed up, mentally. So it's always important that mentally and everything that we do go hand in hand, and that is why I've included that, because I've seen with me that a lot of the things you can't change until you start working on the mind, until you start dealing with the past, because maybe your mom was just a reckless spender, and then to you it becomes a normal thing. So even though you get a good income, but because you still carry the philosophies of your mother, then they still hinder you from going forward, right? So because you're still there, you're still hearing your mother says, "Ya mntanami, ngeke ngife." I'm not gonna die just because I owe people, and then you think it's okay. No, right? So start changing those patterns. Start working on the bar. I make that simple exercise around saying I love money, right? And when I say it, and I'm still healing from it, because I don't feel like people are gonna judge me. Oh my gosh, oh my, and that is limiting. It is limiting because you cannot get abundance of something that you're scared of. You can't. It becomes impossible. It can happen, but it's going to be difficult to maintain it because it just happened by mistake. So, but to go after it, you're going to go after it knowing that you have confidence to go after it, right? So it's absolutely important to know that. So change your surroundings if you have to. Change the people that you surround yourself if you have to. Expand your network to people that are like-minded. And one thing that I always say is that when you see posts, right? So you see posts, especially I would mention like Witness. Witness is very wrong, like tells you as it is. And then a lot of people, it covers them. When it covers you, you must then know that there's something wrong. Then start to interrogate the clubmate. The clubmate, yeah. Start interrogating the clubmate. Because then you start dealing with, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling so hectic when somebody says, yeah, no, Hashem, when you are just reckless. Why am I feeling bad? And maybe this person I don't even know. Why do I feel bad about somebody saying that? So you need to start interrogating that. So when you start interrogating, then you can start fixing. Then you can start, because some of the things you'll find that it's also difficult to engage with people that I find are financially, sober, because you feel that they're going to intimidate you. Why are they intimidating you? Why do you feel intimidated? Then there's something wrong. You see? So now you need to so that goes deeper than you having a budget. That goes deeper than just fixing your cash flow. It now it's a belief system that you need to work on, right? So you see, those are the things. So when you now even under debt review, please don't think that you're on a financial holiday. You are not. Otherwise, you're gonna stay there for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you're gonna just, and that debt won't go, and you're gonna find it very difficult to now start creating wealth, using things like your banks and everything else. So please make sure that you note that you are not on a financial holiday. It just means that it's a new start. So let me create good habits. Let me start having a clear plan. Let me budget regularly. Let me do all of those kind of things. Let me watch what I spend money on, and then you start to be great. Okay? I know it's before Christmas and I'm preaching, but I hope this definitely helps. I definitely hope that it helps. So next year, there's so many things that are coming. I'm so excited about a lot of the interventions that we'll be coming up with. We're going to be doing group sessions, we're going to have seminars, and all of these things, just to engage from a mental health, from a personal finance point of view, and just looking at property as well, just looking at these things, having proper engaging conversations where we just roll and use our stories and everything else, but have fun as well. So you're gonna have a great time. So yeah, so I hope this definitely helps in some way or form, and it assists you. But please, if you are in that space, you see that you're struggling, please go back to the video again, and I'm gonna post it, and then you can watch it over and over again, just some of the things that you can be doing. All right. So it's also important as well. So the book, it's available. So please make sure that you put your, I'm gonna share the details again, just how to get the book. Everything that I touch on, a lot of it is in the book. So you can sit now. You have time, and you can, just page through and then jaha it. It's not a jahan book. It's a book that you read and then just understand some of the things. And I've been very personal around some of the things that I've gone through in my life. So please make sure that you get yourself a book. It's still on a Christmas special, so then it's gonna be blessing you so much this festive season. So yeah, and please make sure that you are great. You have a great time in these holidays, and we want to see you, fresh and great in the new year. But we still have another session next week, same time, 7 o'clock. And then we're gonna be touching on. So next week, of course, we are doing. So next week is what we did. This is finances. We're gonna be doing property. It's property. No, mental health. So we're gonna be doing mental health next week. So we'll be talking about mental health, something around mental health. And if you want to propose something, maybe you're struggling with from a mental health perspective for next week, please share it with me. If you want, there's a topic around your personal finances that you want me to touch on, please share it. Property as well, do likewise, and I'll be able to see what I can do. Cool. Gavin Kabela signing out. May you have an amazing, incredible Friday, and have a merry, 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 merry Christmas on Sunday, and hope to be invited somewhere for Christmas lunch. I'm just saying. But anyway, have an amazing time. Ciao, ciao.